In this video, I'm going to be breaking down 5 players on the New Orleans Saints roster that I think need to step up in 2024 to get the black and gold back into the postseason. So before we dive into my players, I want you to go ahead and share your thoughts. Call them out. Who's a player that you want to bring it in 2024? Is it Derek Carr? Is it a defensive player? Is it Klint Kubiak? It could be anybody. I know Kubiak's not a player, but you can have some fun with this question. I want to hear what you guys got to say. The first person that I want to step up this season in 2024 is none other than DC4. That's QB1 Derek Carr, and why I think that he needs to, leave 2023 in the rear view and just move forward and bring it this year and start fresh. Not start fresh, but build on the momentum he had last year, which was pretty nice at the end of the season. There were a lot of moments where Derek Carr had some really, really good plays. There was some crazy throws in the Rams game. There was that throw in the Titans game week 1. There was a bunch of really crazy passes that he connected with Rashid Shaheed and A.T. Perry, Juwan Johnson, Chris Olave. Everyone got involved, including Taysom Hill. But then there was a lot of times last year where he was extremely frustrating, and it was really, really difficult to stand behind Derek Carr. So much so that he was booed when he took the field at the Superdome. And that production in 2023 wasn't that great. It was okay. It was a lot of stats that were padded at the end of the games when, the Saints were up by a lot. It's garbage time stats, or they're down by a bunch, so it's garbage time stats there as well. But I do believe that Klint Kubiak's system will be more quarterback friendly, and he's having a bigger emphasis in creating a bigger emphasis, on the run game, which is why I think Derek Carr will benefit from it, and it'll allow him to be more effective when he's passing the ball. So I think that he needs to step up in 2024. But, I want to play devil's advocate and give Derek Carr some credit. I've gotten into some arguments on Twitter and on X with people who are Raiders fans that are just actually Derek Carr fans but claim to, bleed black and gold. We all know they don't. But I have, played devil's advocate multiple times. Some people choose not to listen. That one account, you know who you are. He dealt with injuries. He had a sprained AC joint. He re-aggravated again later in the season. And in that same game, he actually got his second concussion of the year. And on top of that, he also hurt his shoulder, just not his AC joint, but hurt his shoulder. So he had 3 different shoulder injuries, 2 concussions on the year. And on top of that, the offensive line was bad. He wasn't really getting much help from the boys in the trenches. It was the worst play calling in the NFL from Pete Carmichael, and that is a fact. If you don't believe me, there are stats out there that prove it. And on top of that, the weapons and the misuse of them was absolutely disgraceful. And not necessarily blaming that on Carr, more so on Pete Carmichael, but when you are the OC and the offense runs through, your mind, Pete Carmichael, you better frickin' come to play. Jimmy Graham not getting any run was not good. But I will say this, there was a lot of times where Rashid Shaheed could have gotten better drops. Chris Olave could have been schemed up a lot better. Michael Thomas could have been used much better. But I want to give a little bit of credit to Derek Carr as well. At the end of the season, the last 5 weeks, he was lighting it up. The completion percentage over 74%, which is outstanding. Only 2 interceptions, an incredibly high passer rating, 14 touchdowns, and the yards were very, very impressive. Again, some stats were padded because of garbage time in that Rams game, some of it out of hand in that Falcons game in Week 18. But nonetheless, Derek Carr was playing really, really, really good football, and the Saints offense was extremely efficient those last 5 weeks, kind of outside of that Rams game. But what say you, Saints fans? Will DC4 play better in 2024? Will he be worse or will he be the same? I want you guys to share your thoughts and let me know what you think in the comments section. The number 2 player that I have that I think needs to step up is Chris Olave. Number 12 is a damn good football player, and I know a lot of y'all are already typing in the comments section. Trace, he's already so good. What do you mean he needs to step up? What are you talking about? He's the best receiver on the team. He's our guy. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I agree. For the record, I agree with all of that. I think Olave's production has been outstanding. He is really damn good. Back-to-back seasons with over 1,000 yards. And on top of that, one of my favorite things about it is we get to flex that we got the better receiver between him and Garrett Wilson. Wilson has yet to have 1,000 yards in a season. Of course, had a lot of weird quarterback play, but so has Olave. And I'm just going to say this. I am not sitting here saying that Olave is bad. By no means is that my argument. I'm sure a lot of you over here saw the tweet, saw my thumbnail, and was like, what in the hell is this guy saying? What I will say is he is a damn good football player. But I want to see him take over the league. I want to see him dominate. I want to see him mark himself and earn the title of being a top 10 wide receiver in the National Football League. Because I truly do believe he has the ability to do that. And Chris Olave, he expects a lot of good things from himself in 2024. And he was asked, what does taking the next step look like? You're a back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver. You're a bona fide wide receiver one. What does the next step look like for you? Saying, I'm just trying to take that next step forward and trying to go from a good player to an elite player, which is exactly what I'm saying. I want to see him go from good to elite. So just trying to be more consistent every day and put in the work to be able to be one of the top receivers in the game. And Olave, I think, can become one of the top receivers in the league. I love that he was talking about how he needs to be more consistent. And I think that that is very, very true. There were some times where it's like Olave wasn't much of a factor. He wasn't really being utilized, and he was dropping balls. There was the distractions off the field and stuff. But that doesn't mean that he's a bad player. That means he's a young kid trying to figure this stuff out and trying to become an elite player in the NFL. And he expects to be much more explosive in 2024. He's looking for a lot more yards after catch. He's bulked up, put on a few pounds of muscle. And I think that that's really, really good stuff for number 12. And if you want more Saints videos, guys, I encourage you to subscribe to Saints Now by Chet Sports. I've been hosting this show for almost 3 years now, which is pretty crazy to think. I actually took over when this channel had less than 2,500. And now we're approaching 28,000. So help me out, and let's get to 28K so we can try and push for 28.3K, because you know that show is going to be a lot of fun. So help us out. We're just under 150 subs away to get to our next milestone. Subscribe for more Saints videos, live shows, daily content, and a whole lot more. So Chase Young is another player I think needs to step up. Shout out to my girlfriend, Maddie, for this badass jersey swap. I think that he was brought in for a very specific reason, and that is to make the pass rush more effective and more athletic. And I will say we got some positive developments and some injury news for Chase Young. I've shared this graphic before, but I'm going to share it again because I think that it's important, and I think that it shows that Chase Young understands the significance of the season for himself as a player. He's been at the facility every single day throughout OTAs. He's been getting work off the field. I want to make that very, very clear. He's been at meetings. He's been, in film studies, but he hasn't been doing stuff on the field with the team quite yet. Dennis Allen, he said that he quote, sees a guy that's motivated and going to have a great year. And I think that that's exactly what we need from 99 to be that kind of player. He's also dealing with the neck injury. That's not any new information. We knew that whenever he was signed. He did have surgery. In terms of the recovery, it's all on time. It's all on pace. Nothing really to set back, or no setbacks, excuse me. But the stats for Chase Young, they've been a weird story, to be quite honest. Like in 2023, he actually had a pretty good year. 25 tackles, 7.5 sacks. But then in 22 and in 21, he just had a problem staying on the field, and he couldn't really keep things going. I mean, he had all sorts of stuff when he was with the Commanders, but this is the former number 2 overall selection, and this is a player who is still very young and has a very high ceiling, in my personal opinion. And I think that the Saints giving him a 1-year deal is a good move because you have the ability to turn it into a multi-year deal if Chase Young does pan out to be a good player. And of course, you have to acknowledge the effort issues or the effort concerns, if you will. But you also have to acknowledge the health concerns. And he played a lot of football last year with an injured neck. So I think that you can kind of take a little bit back on Chase Young and just kind of be excited about the player. And I think the reason the Saints brought him in was because the pass rush needed to be better. It was extremely unimpactful. There was a very lack of production, a very large lack of production there. They were tied for 28th in sack production, only 34 sacks in the entire season. That's not good. And I think Chase Young will be able to increase the sack production and make that defensive line a lot more effective, if you will. So I want you to place your bets for me, Saints fans. Last year in 2023, Chase Young had 7.5 sacks. So I want to challenge him to get that one extra sack. Let's get to 8.5. Do you think that he will have over or under 8.5 sacks in 2024? I'm curious what you guys got to think. I'm going to be typing my overs because I think he could actually end somewhere around 9 or 10, and that would be absolutely awesome. And if you guys want to get your dad something absolutely awesome, we all love our dads. Everyone has a dad that they've been, associated with, whether it's a football coach, whether it's your own dad, whether it's a father figure, whoever it is. I encourage you to go get yourself, or not yourself, go get your dad or your father figure a number 1 dad shirt at chatsports.com/SaintsDad. Father's Day is just around the corner, and don't be the guy who forgets to get your dad a gift. Be the better son. At my little brother, I got my dad a gift, and I know you didn't, so I'm winning and getting an extra Christmas present. So if you want to be like me, hit that link below and get your dad some swag. Another player I believe needs to step up in 2024, Isaiah Foskey. And if you remember, the New Orleans Saints took him with the 2nd-round pick just a couple seasons ago. And coming out of Notre Dame, Isaiah Foskey had a lot of hype around him. He was commended for having a high motor, a ton of effort on plays, and being extremely athletic and, having a very high sense of motivation, if you will. And we didn't really get to see a lot of him last year. Only 10 tackles, half a sack, and a pass breakup for Foskey this past season. And I think that he understands what the pressure has around 2024 because he needs to be better. And I think that Foskey, what he said in terms of his rookie season is pretty telling. And I think it offers some clarity as to why there wasn't more usage and more production. I definitely was a little hesitant going I definitely was a little hesitant going. Like, looking back from last year, I feel like that was just me trying not to make a mistake. But now I'm just pretty much going full speed. And Dennis Allen has been on the record multiple times saying he likes what's going on between the ears for Isaiah Foskey, but he wants to see him cut it loose, and he wants to see him turn it up and go be that athletic player. And I think what we just saw in that quote where he was afraid to make mistakes, he was afraid to blow a play, that's why we saw such a lack of snap counts for him. And in terms of the defensive snap count, only 13% of snaps last year. And in special teams, he played over half. So he was a contributor on special teams. However, I want to see him be a contributor on the defense because you're a 2nd-round pick, Carl Granderson, Chase Young, I'm really excited to see what they can do as a pass rush duo. I think Cam Jordan could have a little bit better production this year, but I also think that guys like Isaiah Foskey really need to step up. I want to see Peyton Turner and Isaiah Foskey bring it this year and go and get after the quarterback. And if they don't, there are guys like Trajan Jeffcoat, Nico Lelos, and Nathan Latu who are on the roster who could possibly challenge them for some snaps. I do think that Foskey will get more run this upcoming season, but I think he needs to earn it at minicamp and at training camp throughout the rest of the offseason. So hopefully Foskey can get after it, and we can see that kid cut it loose. Now, the last player I want to see step it up in 2024 is Trevor Penning. These 5 players, it's really in no particular order, but I will say I think Derek Carr is the most important, and Trevor Penning might be the 2nd most. And in terms of the production in 2023, it wasn't good. It was extremely limited. He was benched multiple times. He even lined up as a tight end. Not to receive, but to block. Like, that's how bad it was. They were just trying to make it work. He only had 417 snaps logged last season. His overall grade was not great. His pass blocking grade was okay. His run blocking grade was bad. And 7 penalties is inexcusable. You need to shake that shit off, and you need to hone in your skills, hone in your aggression, and use it in a sense that's more productive rather than destructive. Now, here's what the offensive line right now is shaken out to be. Talise Fuwanga is working on the left side, and Trevor Penning's working on the right side. I think Saldiveri will be the starting guard. There's been a lot of praise coming out from him at OTAs thus far. And Eric McCoy, he is one of the best centers in the league, in my personal opinion. Maybe not one of the best centers, but he is very high, productive, and PFF actually has him graded as one of the best centers in the league. Cesar Ruiz, a frustrating player, but we're not here to talk about Ruiz. We're here to talk about Penning because I do believe the move over to the right side at that tackle position is actually going to be really beneficial for Trevor. And I do think that this is a fresh start. Penning even has said that himself, that moving to the right side is a fresh start because it's a new position. And Dennis Allen, Klint Kubiak, they have all been on the record of saying they don't really view left tackle and right tackle as very different players because of how the defenses in the NFL have evolved. It's great pass rushers on any given side. It's not the blind side of the quarterback anymore. It's either side, a damn good pass rusher is going to be there. So you have to have tackles who can take over and win those battles in the trenches, but also create running lanes and create opportunities in this wide zone scheme that the Saints will be running. I do believe that Trevor Penning can still prove people wrong. I think he can turn into a good player, and I really hope that the new offensive coaching staff and the new offensive line coach can turn Penning from a project into a player. He was a project. I want to see him turn into a player. I want to see him turn into a damn good one. But I want you to be honest with me, Saints fans. How confident are you in Trevor Penning? Scale it from me 1 to 10. 1, you are not confident at all. You want him off the team. You want him cut. He is absolutely terrible. Get him gone. Number 10, you really, really like him and you're really high on him and you think that he has a very high ceiling and you think that he could still turn it around. Now, honorable mention, I will say Alvin Kamara, I do think needs to step it up. And I'm not saying that Kamara's been bad. For the same exact excuses why Carr struggled, I'm going to give it to Kamara. He had the suspension last year. He also dealt with some, random little stuff going on, like a minor injury here or lack of being schemed up there or just bad play calling here and there, bad offensive line play. All of what happened with Carr is also applicable to Kamara. And when you only have 695 or 694 rushing yards, and less than 500 yards receiving, and you're making as much money as Kamara is, you got to be better. And I will say I think that Kubiak will bring more out of Kamara, and I think that all 3 running backs will have better production than they did last year. So if you guys want to rip me and you guys want to tell me how much of an idiot I am, I encourage you to hit me up on X, formerly known as Twitter, or hit me up on Instagram. I just created a new Saints Instagram account where I'm posting only Saints content, not my personal stuff, just Saints content specifically. So if you want to see what's going on around the black and gold in between these videos, or if you just want more free coverage on multiple platforms, give your boy a follow. The links are in the comment section and description of this video. Y'all stay golden. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next time.